Baron Chandler was born in Amherst, Nova Scotia. As a young man, he moved to New Brunswick and studied law and settled in Dorchester in Elbert County, New Brunswick. He was appointed to the Legislative Governing Council as he opposed responsible government and served in the Governing Council from 1836 to 1854 when responsible government was established in New Brunswick. With regard to Confederation, Chandler attended all three conferences at London, Quebec, and Charlottetown. Although he supported the idea of Confederation, he did not like the idea of federalism and fought hard for provincial rights at the Charlottetown and Quebec conferences. He went to the London Conference in order to secure more favorable terms for New Brunswick. In 1867, he was appointed to the Senate, but resigned in 1868 in order to become head of a railroad construction company in the Maritime Provinces. Edward Barron Chandler also served as Lieutenant Governor of New Brunswick from 1878 until his death in 1880 at the age of 80. Sir Charles Fisher was born in Farrington, New Brunswick in 1808. He was elected to the New Brunswick legislature in 1837, but resigned because of ill health. Fisher was considered something of an invalid or hypochondriac, no matter how one views some of his constant lifelong struggles with illness. Fisher ran again and served from 1848 to 1850 and fought for responsible government. When that was fully granted in New Brunswick in 1857, the last of the colonies in North America to do so, Fisher was appointed as New Brunswick's first premier and served from 1857 to 1861. He resigned because of a scandal over high crime lands were being distributed in New Brunswick. He also attended the Charlottetown Conference, but returned to New Brunswick because of ill health, leaving Samuel Tilly in charge. He also attended the Quebec Conference and the London Conference, where he was noted by Queen Victoria for his work regarding Confederation. Fisher also supported Confederation, but because of his ill health, he was forced to temporarily resign from politics from 1861 to 1867. In 1867, he became a member of Parliament and resigned once again in 1868 because of continued health issues, but he became a member of the New Brunswick Supreme Court, where he remained until his death in office in 1872, aged 72. By the way, his son-in-law, John James Fraser, also became Premier of New Brunswick from 1878 to 1882. As for John Hamilton Gray, he was a delegate from New Brunswick. He was born in 1814 in St. George's Island, Bermuda, where his father was a civil servant. The family also lived in Norfolk, Virginia, Boston, Massachusetts, and Halifax, Nova Scotia because of his father's job as Consul General to the U.S. He became a lawyer after graduating from King's College University in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and moved to St. John. He also volunteered and served in the New Brunswick Militia, attaining the rank of captain and later lieutenant colonel in the New Brunswick Militia's Volunteer Yeoman Cavalry Regiment. His short military career lasted from 1850 to 1854. In terms of politics, Gray was first elected to the Brunswick Legislative Assembly in 1854 after the establishment of responsible government that same year. He became the Premier of New Brunswick briefly from 1856 to 1857 and appeared a series of prohibition laws enacted by Sir Samuel Tilly's previous Conservative government, of which he was a member. He then formed his own party called the New Brunswick Tory Party, which eventually collapsed after his defeat as Premier by a vote of non-confidence in 1857. He continued in politics, during which time he became a student in railways and continued on as a politician until 1861, when he became involved in a corruption scandal which forced his resignation. He was then returned to practicing law, and in 1864, Gray won a by-election to become Speaker of the New Brunswick Legislature. He also attended both the Charlottetown and Quebec conferences, but then became a member of the Anti-Confederation Party of New Brunswick, only to realize that New Brunswick could never join Canadian Confederation. So he went back to supporting Tilley and his pro-Confederation Party, which was swept back into power in 1867. In 1872, Gray became a member of Parliament and was appointed to the Supreme Court of British Columbia as a judge. Although he was extremely reluctant to move so far westward, in 1878 he did rule the Chinese head tax of 1878 was unconstitutional based on immigration as a federal responsibility under the British North America Act. He also participated in the Royal Commission on Chinese and Asian Immigration into Canada in Ottawa in 1885. Later that year, he retired from the Supreme Court of British Columbia and died of a stroke in 1889, aged 75. John Hamilton Gray is also the only man of the Fathers of Confederation to be buried west of Ontario, as he was laid to rest in Victoria, BC. John Mercer Johnson was born in Liverpool, England, when he was a baby. His family moved to Chatham, now Miramichi, New Brunswick. He became a lawyer in 1850, was elected to the New Brunswick legislature, and served from 1850 to 1865, and again from 1866 to 1867. He attended the Charlottetown Conference, the Quebec Conference, and the London Conference. He vigorously maintained that there needed to be more provincial power in the Original North America Act, but in 1867 he was elected to Parliament in Ottawa, but died in 1868 while in office. John Peter Mitchell was born in Newcastle, New Brunswick in 1824 to Scottish parents. He was educated in Quebec City and became a lawyer in New Brunswick in 1848. He also became a businessman in the 1850s and would pursue both off and on throughout his lifetime. In terms of politics, Mitchell was elected in 1856 during a especially bitter campaign over whether or not to introduce prohibition in New Brunswick. During the campaign, Mitchell supported the anti-prohibition campaign. In addition to having lots of alcohol for his supporters, he also had to arm himself with 2 or 3 pistols and a sword for personal protection. In 1859, he became a cabinet minister and introduced a series of bankruptcy acts to better help debtors. He also opposed the nomination of schools or Roman Catholic versus Protestant school boards, in addition to supporting the creation of municipal governments throughout New Brunswick outside of St. John. In 1861, he was appointed to the Legislative Council, which was basically the colonial New Brunswick Senate. He then resigned from 1865 and ran Tilley's pro-Confederation party lost the election of that year. As for Confederation, Mitchell attended the Quebec Conference and the London Conference. He was a strong supporter of Confederation for New Brunswick after the resignation of the anti-Confederation government in 1866. Mitchell became deputy premier to Tilley, although he would have liked to have become premier instead, but the lieutenant governor, Arthur Gordon, chose Tilley over him for unspecified reasons. After Confederation, Mitchell was appointed to the Senate in 1867 and became the first Minister of Fisheries and Maritime Matters in Sir John A. Macdonald's cabinet, and he became an aggressive protector of Canadian fisheries. He even went so far as to outfit multiple high-speed gunboats with large guns and heavy armed crews so as to seize any American fishing boats in Canadian waters. Mitchell resigned from the Senate in 1878 after getting into a series of legalistic messes, to say the least. Then he ran as a Member of Parliament in the 1878 election, but lost, although he won a seat in the House of Commons in the 1882 election and continued to serve in office until his death in 1899. In 1885, Peter Mitchell bought 2 Montreal newspapers, the Montreal Herald and the Daily Commercial Gazette, which he used to attack both the Liberals and Wilfrid Laurier and the Conservatives and John A. Macdonald. He also used his position as a journalist to argue the Northwest Rebellion could have been avoided if Macdonald had paid attention to the complaints and petitions of the Métis and other settlers in the Northwest Territories before the rebellion had started. He also called for the law to take its course regarding Louisville, as he thought his life should be spared and that he should be confined in an insane asylum for the rest of his life. That's what the law says regarding people, whether or not if they are not criminally responsible at the time of their offense, or in other words, not guilty by reason of insanity. Peter Mitchell also said that his newspaper was to attack the Liberal Party, in particular Sir Wilfrid Laurier, although he ran for the Liberal Party in the 1886 election, as he had stopped supporting the Conservatives after 1885. In 1896, Mitchell was made Director of Fisheries Inspectors for what is now Eastern Canada, minus Newfoundland, of course. He held that position until he died in office. In July 1899, he suffered a series of strokes while in Parliament, which left him temporarily paralyzed and knocked down. Although he seemed to have recovered, he suffered another massive stroke and died in Montreal Hotel in October 1899, aged 75. William Henry Steeves is the only father of Confederation, but also a member of the Steeves family, the largest family in North America. That is to say, the Steeves family has the most members of the same family, still retaining the name of Steeves. However, as for William Henry Steeves himself, he was born in Hillsborough, Elbert County, New Brunswick. He eventually inherited a successful lumber business and became a wealthy man, and then he moved to St. John, New Brunswick, where he remained on and off for the rest of his life as a businessman. In terms of politics, William Henry Steeves was elected to the New Brunswick legislature in 1846. He was then appointed to the governing council, the so-called Family Compact, by the then Lieutenant Governor of New Brunswick in 1851. However, he resigned his position in 1854 after a responsible government was established in New Brunswick. Regarding Confederation, he attended both the Charlottetown and Quebec conferences. After Confederation, he was appointed to the Senate in 1866, where he spent the rest of his life campaigning for some of the most underprivileged and underrepresented people of society. He was particularly active in ensuring critical reforms with regard to insane asylums and worked for the sensible treatment of the mentally ill. Other areas of interest were women's rights, the poor, the justice system in general, but more specifically prison reform. He also advocated for better treatment of what is legally termed wards of the Crown, meaning those of whom the state has care over, like widows, orphans, natives, and also the insane. William Henry Steeves died in office in 1873.